welcome to this week's edition of Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I'm your host, Bryon Kozaska, and beside me is Ben Durant.
Hello, Bryon.
That was our space open. Like we're yelling to each other across a room while eating at a gigantic dinner table. So this week, we're doing episode 9. We're moving into season 2. We're getting deeper into season 2, and season 2 being the very long season. So Ben, start us off. How does this episode fare in the ratings and
all that good stuff?
Yeah, all that good stuff.
It's not getting any better. I can tell you that much.
Because the last episode did fairly well, right?
Yeah, it did, and I told you that's the best it gets for this season. What can I tell you? So I can tell you, why don't I start off with this episode, number 9, was written by Harley Peyton, directed by David Lynch. So David Lynch just directed the season premiere of the second season, and he's back again for another one.
Wow.
So,
and no Steven Spielberg.
No Steven Spielberg. It was all David Lynch. And this is, so the last episode actually aired on a Sunday. It was like a 2-hour return, and now they moved into their regular time slot of Saturdays.
Yeah,
Saturday I think we went into that.
What time? 8 o'clock?
Was it 8 o'clock? I think it was later than that. It was at least 9 o'clock. I want to say 10 o'clock even. Maybe it was later.
Oh wow. Well, that's not too bad, but still.
I always think I have all my facts together, but then you say, what time was it at? That's like, I have no idea.
It was Saturday night. That doesn't matter.
Well, it all depends on which time zone you're in.
Yeah. Technically, it aired at all times.
All times. So it aired on October 6th, 1990, and the ratings was 9.2, and it ranked 68 for the week.
Oh,
we were in the 40s. I think it was 42 for the week, the last episode.
Yeah.
So I think people were turned off by Cooper hanging out on the floor for 20 minutes.
Waiting for more milk.
It was really 5 minutes, but I've heard about you. So
Yeah. Well, also they had commercial breaks. So they had to wait for a commercial break and go, okay, when they come back, they're going to tell me who the killer is.
Right.
Nothing.
Or
we do not worry about commercials, so it's a little bit different story for us, I guess.
It's true.
Now, the log lady. I started this episode on the Blu-rays with the log lady, and she says an interesting thing. Is cream corn a symbol for something else? Well, I think that's what I wrote, because she talks about it. Is cream corn a symbol for something else? And I was like, I'm really paying attention to what she says every show now. And I'm like, oh, this is a clue. What does cream corn stand for? Well, it stands for nothing really later on in the episode.
Yeah, so I mean... So what are you going to say? What do you say? Are you saying you think it does mean something?
I was really certain that the cream corn meant something.
But you don't know what. It just you just have this gut feeling that it means something else.
Yeah,
well, I don't think you're off. I mean, so this is something that David Lynch added. This was not in the script. There was no cream corn. There was the grandson who did magic tricks, but he didn't make cream corn disappear. But so that's something Lynch did on the fly. I will say that eventually it will have symbolism.
Cream corn will have symbolism?
Yes, there will be more meaning put to that.
Later in the season?
I'll go beyond the series. That in the movie, David Lynch rarely tells you for a fact what something is, but in the movie, he basically spells out what cream corn is.
Is it like the rosebud of his universe?
Maybe, I don't know.
Cream corn.
That's good. It's straight. I mean, again, he could have done that. He put meaning to it in the movie, but it's interesting to see that, just like in a way that Mark Frost did with the dream, the Red Room dream. It seems like David Lynch does add more meaning to cream corn.
Cream corn. The weirdest.
I do not like cream corn. Do you see cream corn?
Yeah, it's the weirdest things. So.
Why not? We can always start off with the episode starts off with Albert talking to Cooper in the hotel there.
And I think we ended last episode with Pulaski freaking out with her coma. And she comes out of the coma.
Right.
So this is like, other than her character being in flashbacks, this is like the first time you're going to see her not just laying there.
Right.
Like she's actually out of a coma.
I mean, she was, so if you count the railroad track where in the pilot, she's like walking.
Yeah.
It's funny that
second.
for half a second, the next thing we know, she's in a coma. And
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, right. So this is.
And it's so weird because everyone's really focused on who killed Laura Palmer, but nobody's ever asking the question, who put Pulaski in a coma?
Right.
No. And also, is there a meaning behind Pulaski? That name choice? What's her first name?
Yeah, Ronette
Pulaski. Right. Now, when I hear Pulaski, I think of Roman Pulaski, the director.
You got it. I think that's where it comes. Yeah, I think that's where the name comes from.
Now, Roman Pulaski, why would they choose that name to represent a female that is in a coma? Is there a meaning behind that?
I think there's meaning, but I can't think of it.
Now, was Roman Pulaski the one who was exiled out of the country?
Yes.
Because that, if you really wanted to go deep, because I thought about that, and I wasn't 100% sure. But I think in this time, Roman Pulaski was exiled because of statutory rape.
Yes.
And so he left the country, and I think he was in Sweden or somewhere. Or he was.
I think that's right.
Yeah, and he somehow still directed movies from there. I don't know how he did it, and they got released in the U.S. So, do you think maybe it was a symbol of, like, maybe because what he did was wrong, in the symbolism of Pulaski being in a coma? Like, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm really stretching symbolism here. Like, she's in a coma. Something bad happened to her.
Yeah.
Pulaski, he gets exiled because something bad happened to him. I guess, I don't know. Or that's just a stretch. Why would they pick that name?
I mean, a lot of times they pick names just to, so I'm not prepared for this, but.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm going into
I don't even remember
right
the films he's done, and this is horrible because I love film and stuff like that, but I can't think of his work. And I think it's better to not go into his private life, but to go into his professional life of films. And if I could remember the films he's done, some of those films might be like
a clue.
Maybe a clue, or in a way, Twin Peaks nodding to his work.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I feel like that's probably.
I think you're probably right. I think I'm stretching more into his personal life, but I mean, I guess because I think that's more fresh in my mind of what happened. But anyway, I the whole time I'm like, is she named? Is that name from Roman Pulaski? So it is.
It is. I mean, from all the research I've done, it is, and I don't know why I haven't got around to talking about that. But I believe that's where the name comes from. And I don't know, Ronette. I don't know what the first name, if that first name has any meaning at all.
Okay.
Do you have anything to talk about the first scene here with Albert sitting at the table with Cooper?
I liked it. What was it, the a cappella group in the background?
Yes. And I think Lynch added that in there. I don't think it actually was. The funny thing is, it's not like the first time that they've had other strange groups in the background in the Great Northern, because they have these conventions all the time, and
there's always weird people.
There's always weird people, but I guess Lynch decided to add that in, which I think is really cool.
The a cappella group. So Cooper's former partner disappeared, we learned.
Wyndham Earle. He not only did he disappear, he escaped from a mental institution. So for some reason he went insane and he got locked up, and Albert is letting Cooper know that he is now escaped.
Now, why would his former partner escape a mental institution? How was he partners with Cooper? Did he go insane and then he went in the institution?
Well, that's what we're going to have to find out.
Because I have a Diane theory.
Okay.
And my theory, and because of this clue, Cooper's former partner disappeared. Well, mental institution. And then I was thinking about Diane. I was thinking about the Diane tapes. What if Diane wasn't real? What if Diane, could have been his ex-wife, or his wife had passed away, or maybe he was never married, but it was his first love and she died tragically, or something happened where this person disappeared out of his life. It could be even his mother. I was thinking of all these things, and he's just talking to someone on this tape, and Diane can represent any of those people, I gather.
Right.
But it's not going anywhere. It's almost Diane is the vehicle for the obviously it's a vehicle for the show to give the audience some an outer perspective of what's going on. But in the show's context, I'm almost thinking it's like, is he a little bit crazy himself, where Diane does not exist? It's someone that maybe makes him feel he's not alone.
Right.
Because he doesn't have a girlfriend or anybody. He makes buddies with people,
right.
But
he seems to like Audrey. But
yeah, I know, yeah. But like, what if Diane is just someone else, and that there's nobody really on the opposite side of that tape? It's not going anywhere. And
I think that'd be hilarious. I think that'd be awesome if that was true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because I love that theory that either he it's some kind of weird thing that he's into, or that he's insane. But I mean, there's examples of where he'll ask to ship his earplugs, and then he'll at least say that he got the earplugs, unless we find out he always had it. But there's been other times where he seems like he does something, and then there is a response from the.
I was thinking that too, but the earplugs and stuff like that. Yeah, what if he just went to the store and bought it? Because theoretically, that means he would have to mail a tape. He would have to go to the mail and mail a tape, and then she would mail him something back.
Right.
But with all that effort, couldn't he just go to the store and buy earplugs?
True. Anything you're like, I don't think
like email.
Shipment was as quick as it is today. But like, because you figure every episode is one day, and I think it was only a day. It was only one episode that he all of a sudden got him. And you got to remember that he's in Washington State and she's in I think Philadelphia. I believe I think she's in the Philadelphia office. Of the FBI. And
yeah, all these little clues had bothered me about that.
But maybe we should overthink him.
Yeah, I know. I maybe I am overthinking, but like, I like the idea of Diane being someone he lost. And he's just he. You know what? It's his way of talking to that person.
Right.
And
that's cool.
it.
I like that.
Because how does he get earplugs in less than a day? And I'm thinking
he picks him at the store, and then he puts the tape recorder out. Thanks for getting me.
Thanks, Diane.
Why don't we play some of this? I don't know what's gonna happen, but we could find out.
He and succeeding kings were collectively known as the Happy Generations. Now, some historians place them in a water snake year, 213 A.D. Others in the year of a water ox, 173 A.D. Amazing, isn't it? The Happy Generations.
Agent Cooper, I am thrilled to pieces that the Dharma came to King Ho Ho Ho. I really am. But right now I'm trying hard to focus on the more immediate problems of our own century right here in Twin Peaks.
Albert, you'd be surprised at the connections between the two.
Color me amazed.
Ronette Pulaski has woken from her coma.
And?
I'm thinking she's going to have quite a story to tell when she regains the ability to speak.
So she's not talking?
Wakened but silent.
Yes.
And I think Albert goes on to say at the end there, he's like, I like to think of myself as part of the Happy Generation. But he's being sarcastic about it. And
I love his character.
Yeah, he's awesome. And Harley Payton, who wrote this episode, wrote most of the dialogue for Albert. Like some of the best lines of Albert was done by this guy. And stuff.
He does. He his character is so like, he's quick-witted. He's not kind.
Yeah.
He's honest about how he feels.
Right.
And that makes a lot of people hate him for that. But it's very entertaining.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining because he kind of speaks for what the audience is thinking sometimes.
Right.
You know?
He has another dialogue where he's talking about all the stuff he found in Jacques Renault, and he says he found Pinocchio in him, and basically, and Cooper says you're telling because he's a whale, right? Because he's a whale, exactly. Yep. But I think it's hilarious and stuff.
It's so subtle too, and if you don't catch it, you don't get it. You're like, oh wow, I got it.
Right? You say, oh, Pinocchio. It's like, oh wait a minute, what is Pinocchio inside? He's in the whale.
He's in the whale.
Right? Yeah. So one of the things in the script that wasn't in the script either was the talk about the ring. So the last script didn't mention the ring, and in this script there was no mention of the ring. At least the original script.
Yeah.
But there is this theme that Cooper says to Albert, my ring is gone, and Albert's like, so right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
big deal.
But it's like it's important to Cooper, maybe because it makes him feel like this dream was real, this vision was real. That
what kind of ring was it?
It was actually, I think it was a gold circle ring.
Was it a wedding ring?
It wasn't a wedding ring, and I don't think it was on his wedding finger. I think it was on the other hand. And so
my theory could have been, I could have broke the theory with the ring. He had a wedding ring the whole time. No.
I mean, someday when we get to the autobiography of Cooper, the book, there is a little more talk about the ring and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, but it's interesting. Cooper, it means a lot to Cooper, especially because this vision, this dream of the giant taking the ring, isn't in and it actually seems to be a physical thing now. He doesn't have the ring.
Yeah, and it was like once you find the ring, you'll know.
Yeah, it'll all come together.
It'll come together.
Yeah.
So we find out about Cooper's partner disappearing, which you say we're going to find out more about that in the future.
Yeah, it's funny.
Now?
It's funny. I actually didn't realize this was even came up this soon. Like I always thought, like, oh, they don't talk about these different mysteries and these things this early in the season. But I guess they did sprinkle out some things that we won't hear about for many episodes to come. So yeah.
So is Cooper really crazy?
I think we should have that dialogue for the rest of this series. As long as we're doing this show, we should talk about, is Cooper crazy? Because there's definitely times, there's so much that happens with him over the series, over the film and stuff. Yeah. Is he crazy? Who knows? Maybe he is crazy.
He's not really an agent at all.
Oh,
He's
man.
really crazy.
Right.
And this is all taking place in his head.
I think he was on Kyle MacLachlan was on David Lynch one time, and David Lynch said it was Cooper who killed Laura Palmer. So maybe that goes into it, that he's crazy. He came into the town, killed Laura Palmer, left the town, came back, and decided to investigate it and stuff.
That would be crazy.
That would be.
That would be something never done on TV before.
Do you want to talk about the
season.
scene with Donna doing the Meals on Wheels and going to the Tremond house?
That's what I had notes. So yeah, she visits this old lady, who's not very nice, and actually
she's not very nice.
She is the babka lady from Seinfeld.
Ah, yes.
You stole my babka.
That's funny.
Where Jerry steals her bread when they're trying to get it, the babka.
I remember that. And actually, did she come back again for the last episode there, I think?
Yeah, she was on the last episode who convicted them to jail. Yeah, I can't remember. She was nice, I guess. I can't remember how.
I mean, I don't have much. I don't know.
But this is the cream corn. Cream corn comes in. The old lady gets cream corn for Meals on Wheels. The grandson plays magic with it. Says to visit Mr. Smith next door, Harold. Kid looks like a mini David Lynch is what I wrote. And then you tell me
it's his son in real life. That's Austin Lynch.
I'm like, he looks like a mini David Lynch.
Yes.
He does. He really does. Spitting image of his dad.
Why don't we? We'll give it another minute, and then we'll play a little bit of that. But I mean, it's and he's in a tux. Is he in a tux?
Yes,
he's in a tux,
and all of a sudden, the cream corn looks gross, and all of a sudden, the cream corn appears in his hands, and then look back, and it's back there, and they're like, it's magic.
It's in his hands. He's cupping the cream corn. Do you see cream corn? And then you look again, it's not there.
It's so disturbing.
It is.
It's so weird.
It's interesting that I feel like there's this whole sickness with food. I mean, they happened. I mean, I think this episode kind of talks about the hospital food and things like that.
Hospital food's gross.
Yes. Oh, why don't we play some now? This would be good.
Happened just like this.
Cream corn. Do you see cream corn on that plate?
Yep.
Yes. I requested no cream corn. Do you see cream corn on that plate?
Nothing.
No.
No. The little boy's cupping cream corn.
It's so gross.
My grandson is studying magic.
It's so ominous with the music. I really thought something really bad was going to happen.
Right.
It was just cream corn.
And Lynch does that a lot in his work. He has this music, and sometimes the music doesn't always. It makes you feel these feelings, but it's not quite. It's uncertainty, and you're a little unnerved.
Yeah. I'm like, is she gonna tell her something bad, or is the cream corn gonna kill her, or something? And it's just that. And I was like, oh, okay.
And like I said, Lynch added that in there. That wasn't part of the script. So on the fly, he decided to add cream corn to the.
Do you think it's because he wanted to have his child in the show? Like, why would they add that scene?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he definitely has a pattern about food in this. I think it's this episode with the hospital food, and so I feel like there's just this theme.
And they have food coming up in the next scene. Actually.
And I can't remember. Yeah, there is. They used to bring me hospital food. So she mentions
the hospital food, and then we see it later, and it's really gross.
Yeah,
it looks like mush.
And it has a sound too, which is
God, yes, the sound.
Yeah.
It sounds like when you're mixing up macaroni and cheese.
Oh man! So Mrs. Tremont mentions Harold Smith is next door, and he knew Laura Palmer.
Yeah, Harold Smith. He creeps me out.
Yeah.
As we get to know him,
He does not leave his house.
No, in the upcoming episodes, we get to know him. And
go ahead, bring up one more time because I just love this. Miss Tremont looking at the little boy. And then he should say something, or maybe I'm too early here, but.
Well, the music is going to tell us something.
I think Donna's freaked out. She's leaving. Oh, she's walking over to Harold's house.
Did it already happen?
No. They're going to go back to it.
Hello?
And the little boy looking at each other.
She seemed like a very nice girl.
I love that line so much. She seemed like a very nice girl.
And he says that just like David Lynch. He looks like David Lynch.
Mini David Lynch.
Yes, I was like, holy smokes, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's a really cool kind of thing. And he's a magician, and it's like, I should get the poem again, but there is a whole thing with the one-armed man in the dream of Cooper's dream that says, who says the magician longs to see one chance out between two worlds, fire walk with me. But in that poem, there's a talk about a magician. The magician longs to see. So maybe there's no connection, but it's interesting to see a little boy and his magic, and to hear this poem. And
we don't have any magicians in the show other than that,
right? Other than one-armed man talking about it in Cooper's dream and this little boy.
Yeah. So,
we're going to go to the scene of the hospital, and Ronette Pulaski has woken up from the coma, and Cooper and Truman come by to see. And another scene which Lynch improvised on the set, not during this in the script, is this whole thing with the stool.
I love this scene. Yeah, like Cooper, the stool is not like is it too high or
it's too high? Yeah,
and he's got to lower it.
And Truman's having trouble too. They're like twirling it.
And when I'm watching this, going, I just picture Lynch running the camera, just saying action, just keep going, don't stop for anything. And they're like, oh man, these stools are so uncomfortable, and they're trying to fix them. Like they're like
reading instructions.
Yeah, like how do you fix this?
I want to believe that maybe before they even started rolling, maybe the prop people were having trouble figuring out how to run the stools, and Lynch is like, "That's a great idea. Yeah. Let's go with it. Let's add it to the scene." And it's funny, and I like it. And it's
it's very quirky. Like, what is going on? And he stays framed up pretty much the entire shot. They don't cut away to anything.
I love it.
It's just with Polanski in the front and those two trying to fix chairs for like what feels to be hours.
Polanski. Maybe it's Pulaski. Maybe it's not the exact thing. After all this time.
Polanski.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Polanski.
Okay.
I think.
Now I'm wondering it's Pulaski, but maybe it is Pulaski. That's not the point. But, I think I've shared with you before, Lynch was originally, he still is an artist. He's a painter. And I think he liked the idea of kind of creating this frame and having things going on in it. So a lot of his work is he will stay on one shot for a long time. And it's funny if you or I did that, it would be like we're amateurs and we don't understand how to edit and how to cut between that. But Lynch does that on purpose. He sets something else and he likes the frame and he wants people just to work in that. But
and that shot kind of looked like an odd painting. Can you imagine that shot of her laying there and them two trying to fix stools, freeze framed above your desk? It says like motivation at the bottom.
Get out of the bed. Or, motivation.
To fix your chairs.
I think they're showing a picture of Leo Johnson, and she's saying no, that's not the person who attacked her, or
Yeah, because they have Leo. Who else do they have on the?
Let's see here. Do they have another one?
Yep, they have. I want to say it's Bob.
Yes, Bob. So the Bob that Cooper saw in his dreams and Sarah Palmer saw in her vision dream and stuff, and she's looking and it's coming into focus, and there's a hairy man.
Hairy Bob.
And she's freaking out, and so the interesting thing about this is that Lynch, the actress who did this, I believe her name is Austin. I'm gonna say her name wrong now. The woman who plays Ronette.
Yeah.
She had to do this thrashing a lot, and she actually started getting hurting from doing it so much.
Oh.
And so Lynch's technique for this was like he showed her this gum, and it makes me think of the gum you like is coming back in style. But he had a stick of gum, and he put it on top of the camera above that, and says, "When you finish this scene, you can have this gum." And
what?
The funny thing, I think the actress got a kick at it, and she says whenever she chews gum now, she thinks about that scene and stuff like that. But I mean, I think
that's hilarious.
I feel like Lynch was very sympathetic, and he's like, "We're almost done. You can get through this."
Yeah.
But it's a funny.
You can have this gum.
I don't think it wasn't like a mean. It wasn't anything to be like
just a motivator. Because it is a lot.
I think her name is Phoebe Augustine. Is her name the actress's real name? But
nobody really seems to care about her that much. They really don't. They didn't care about her until she woke up.
No, but Josie closed the mill because her father worked at the mill. So I mean, Josie cared enough to lose business. I mean, somebody cares.
Somebody cares. So here we get into food again. Ben and Jerry, they're wanting to burn one of the ledgers. And they have a whole thing about the ledgers. One's the good one. One's the fudged one. Which one should they burn?
Yep.
Because they can get rid of one, and the other one will be the new truth or whatever. But they decide to burn marshmallows instead.
Again, not in the script. Lynch put that in there at the last minute. That was not part of the script that he thought, let's do marshmallows.
Yeah, so like they keep both, and they decide to burn marshmallows.
It's too funny. But that's what when they're together, all they care about is food.
Eating. Yes.
And at the time, Jerry's eating, I don't know what this is, smoked
cheese. And it looks like a pig. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. The ledgers, why would they not choose to burn a ledger?
So one of them, I think they described it. One ledger would be profitable, so they might get more. They might get more. They couldn't
decide.
Oh, yeah, they couldn't decide. But like if they were able to get the insurance money from Catherine when she died, she didn't sign it, but if she had signed it, they would have got more money for the mill. Or I think somehow they would have gotten more money if it was profitable. But if it wasn't, so yeah, what's the point? Yeah, I don't know what the reason, if it's not profitable.
Yeah, one was showing it was doing horrible.
Right.
And then one was fudged, so it was profitable. Yeah, they explain it where if it's like a 2020 situation.
Yeah.
Damned if you don't. I mean, if they keep one, they can
looks like we're 100% not certain.
Yeah. So they eat cheese and burn marshmallows.
There you go.
I guess because they could have the option. So when it comes time, if they say, well, it's burned down. If it was profitable, you can get X amount of money. Oh, we have that leisure to go in that scenario. But if they go, well, if it was doing horrible, I don't know what you would do with that
Right.
one.
I mean, I feel like that one maybe. Yeah, I don't even know if that was which one was the real one anymore.
The real
Like,
one was the
I feel
horrible
like the
one.
storyline is almost over. Like I feel like we've
Yeah.
kind of done all we can with that. I do love that the fire's in the background. I mean they seem to talk about fire all the time, and I just love that they're sitting in front of the fireplace and their fire's in back of them. It's a cool.
Like they're two little Boy Scouts in front of the fire pit, ready to eat their marshmallows.
You know, talking about my own life is my son. We went to the beach over the weekend, and he saw his uncle, and he had a fire pit, like and it had fire coming in. He's like, "Oh, you want to roast marshmallows with my son?" And my son freaked out because like he's not used to having
Fire.
going up to fire and stuff. He eventually he eventually got the stick and he roasted marshmallows. But at first he was like, "What? You want me to stand in front of this fire?" Oh,
It's so
man.
cool when you realize, wow, there's kids who don't like this is okay to do. Like
My mom and dad say I shouldn't play with matches, and you're saying stand in front of the
fire and put food in there.
Yeah. There's a scene that was in the script that is not, on the show. And I just found it interesting in some ways. So we're at the Double R, and Andy is playing with tape, putting up "Have you seen this man?"
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, for me, this is the point. I was like, okay, they're basically making Andy into this bundling fool.
Well, you thought that
fool.
when he
smashed the board in his.
When he found the boots and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess it's funny. I didn't realize that until you told me about this. That maybe he has gone down this road now. Because I always thought he was this way. But you're probably right. It seems like
I feel like it's a gradual character turn. I felt like in the beginning he was like a more innocent, like he cried and he had women problems.
He also lost his gun. I mean, that was kind of idiot of him where he lost the gun.
And then when he dropped the gun.
Right, that's what I mean. Right.
But then all of a sudden it's like he can't do normal things like tape aside. I'm like, he went from like, how did he become a cop? Like,
I don't know.
So they're just taking his character and they're having a lot of fun with it. And I appreciate it. I think it's funny. But his character, watching the show like I have, just shows that his character, they're just kind of like, you're the comic relief maybe?
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
what it's coming. Yeah, totally. That's what turned into. So there's a scene in the script where Leland and Maddy come to the Double R. This is happening right after Andy is putting up the sign.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting. It's not one of the greatest deleted or not unseen Twin Peaks scene, but I thought it'd be interesting. So Leland takes Maddy to the diner, and he says, "Have you tried their malts, their chocolate malt?" And she says no. And they sit down and have a malt, and Norma comes by and says, "How you doing, Leland?" And actually, it seems like a couple times they're asking how is he doing because it's only been a little over a week since he's lost his daughter.
Yeah.
And but he goes in. The thing I found interesting is that he says, listen, I might try to read it just because I find it interesting. Well, I'll say this. She said, Maddy asked Leland how he's doing, and he says he's doing much better. He's got his white hair now. But one of the reasons he says he feels like he's doing better is because he's got to take care of his family. And I found that interesting in some ways, that he felt like he had to be there for Sarah. He had to be there. He had to be the bigger person, and that in some way that's healing for him, that he has to be there for them.
Yeah.
And he's okay. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Oh, and Maddy goes into saying too that Maddy says that she actually lost her father 2 years ago. I mean, this is stuff that we never hear about, but it's interesting backstory that her father had died, and that she just has her mom now and stuff, and that she can see her mom still grieving over this, and that in some ways she seems like she's doing a lot better. And I think that was a way that they can kind of relate to each other, Maddy and Leland. And then Leland goes into where he says like, "Hear me out." I was gonna read it just because I thought it was interesting, but. It's like, Maddy, I want you to say something to you. This is Leland, of course. Maddy, I want to say something to you. You don't have to answer. In fact, you shouldn't. You should think about it first. Promise me. And Maddy says, okay. Leland, you said you don't really have that much to go back to in Missouri. Yeah. Missoula. I'm sorry, Missoula. That's the town. You also said how much you liked it here. And basically, I think I didn't have all my stuff. He's basically saying, "What do you think about staying here in Twin Peaks and stuff like that?"
Yeah.
And basically, she says she'll think about it. But I kind of connect it too that like she looks exactly like Laura Palmer, and I kind of wonder if he had. I mean, this is not canon, but you kind of think that he wants her to stay because it reminds her of Laura Palmer, and so he reminds of his daughter and stuff.
Yeah.
And I found this kind of scene kind of interesting for that case. That like he says, "Oh, I'm doing much better, but don't leave."
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting about the deleted scene. I can see why they cut it because there is a scene with them two on the couch that would be kind of redundant.
Yeah,
because they kind of touch upon that stuff in that scene.
That's a good point.
Also, so they in that deleted scene, you say that she tells him that her father had passed away.
Yeah,
but Maddy is Laura's cousin, so is that his brother's daughter, or is that the mom's sister's daughter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any proof about this, but I feel like
which side of the family? I
feel like it's on Sarah's side of the family. I feel like Sarah. I could be wrong, but I feel like Sarah's. Would it be Sarah's sister's daughter? And she is her name,
brother. Yeah,
her name is Maddy Ferguson, so she isn't a Palmer.
Okay,
I don't know if that
so
makes
you're right.
a difference, right?
No, that would, because if it was a Palmer, it would be related to him.
Right.
So that's his wife's niece.
Oh, it could be. What? I guess it could be. It technically could be his wife's sister or brother, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So that question to ask, I mean, you would have to assume he would know because it's family. He would know if his wife's brother or sister had passed. Well, if someone died in that family. So I feel like that question would be weird. It'd be kind of out of place.
What was the question?
Well, you said like she's telling him how she doesn't have a dad. Like he would know that.
I think he does know that. I think I'm sorry if I didn't describe it right. I think she's kind of like reflecting.
Gotcha.
Like basically, she's saying how is he doing because he's lost something, and she's again saying how in her own way she's saying I've lost a father and stuff, and so.
I almost thought she was telling him that.
I think she's trying to relate. Say, it seems like you are doing better, and I feel like I'm doing better several years after losing a father, and then mentioning how both my mom and Sarah Palmer seem to be taking it harder, and will they ever be better? And stuff like that. So I think it was a way to bond the two, and
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was like, well, how would he should know? But yeah, that makes total sense. But yeah, I mean, that would be a good scene. But like I said, I feel like that couch scene kind of does that too.
You're probably right. Yeah. I forgot about the couch scene. So they do kind of bring it up. Now we have the log lady
chewing her gum.
Yep,
she's chewing the gum.
Oh, and bringing this up just for ha-has here.
To see you. But if you're going to spit your sticky pitch come out in the diner, would you please use an ashtray and not the counter or the booth like you did last time?
All right, that's good. Yeah.
She's so pissed.
I'll have a bear claw.
With her gum.
Right. So she's just hanging out, sitting next to Major Briggs here, and
chewing on her gum.
She's going to talk about her log, and in the script, she calls the log a he. Which I find interesting. I mean, again, it's not canon, but it's interesting to see that the log is a he in the script.
And we talked about this, the log. I think we talked about this.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
About the log, the theory could be her husband.
Right, and I think that's
I like that theory.
I like that theory. It's comforting in some ways that it was a wedding gift that he gave to her, and then he died. I think on the actual wedding night or the night night and stuff, and
that would totally explain why she's. By herself. She's in the cabin. She's got the log to keep her company.
Yeah.
She's a little weird. She's like a cat lady.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. So she's got a message for the major here, and deliver the message.
So precise and direct.
Do you understand?
And this is where I was like, what?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, I do.
Now, I was amazed to see him back because I thought when last we saw him, he was talking to Bobby.
Yeah.
And I thought he was leaving the show. I thought he wasn't coming back.
Oh yeah, I remember you thinking that. I think that was interesting that you saw it that way. I mean, yeah.
I thought it was like a send off. I thought his send off for his character was just kind of like, I'm proud of you. I hope you do well. I know you're gonna do well. I hope the best for you. And then he just leaves. And
Right.
I'm like, that's so weird to just give him this big speech.
Right.
And what's the payoff on that? And I
Yeah.
thought, well, he's not coming back.
Right.
Or I also thought maybe he would die.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
just something
It all
bad
makes
would
sense.
happen
right.
to him.
I think we're so used to shows like that that like
Yeah.
a character has this big important speech and like something big is going to happen to change that character. And you're right, it doesn't. I mean, the only thing I can think of is in some ways that maybe the writers decided they wanted to close that storyline. In a way, there was a storyline in the first season where
Yes.
Bobby and his father were always at odds with each other. Whether
Yeah.
at the table where he gets slapped in the face, and they just didn't seem to agree. And maybe they felt like, you know what, it's time to move on. We don't want to focus on that anymore. And like, let's give a reason to kind of bring them together. But
Yeah, that's definitely, I could definitely see that now. I wasn't thinking about that, but yeah, because after this point, I don't think we have another Bobby and his dad conflict.
not for
honestly.
not for a while. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
you say, not really.
Yeah, nothing I've seen so far. Now, I wrote this down. I go a lot of sight gags in this episode. Fly and tape on deputy's face. Harry has 2 belts on. And deer head.
What? He has 2 belts on?
Harry has 2 belts on.
I don't think I ever noticed that.
Yes, they're in the
Is
office.
he afraid that one belt won't be able to keep
Yes.
his pants on?
Harry is putting on 1 belt, and then he has a double belt. I'm telling you.
Oh, man.
There's a scene when they're in the office getting ready. Harry puts on 2 belts, and then there's a deer head posted on the wall or somewhere, and it says, "Buck stops here." So this episode has all these weird gags.
And the
I
buck
felt.
stops here. I want to. This is horrible. I don't know for sure, but I feel like that might be the real Harry S. Truman's quote. The President Harry S. Truman might be. I'll probably get it wrong, but I want to say that
The buck stops here.
Buck stops here. So it's a famous
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah, I just thought it was really funny. These very weird things. I think we're coming up to the Harry has 2 belts. Oh, see, he's still got tape in his hair.
Yep. So Andy he just walks around town with tape in his hair from the double R.
And Lucy hates him for some reason. We don't know why.
Well, yeah, I guess we don't know. Do we not know why yet, or we still don't understand what's her problem? Or
the
I guess,
pregnancy.
Pregnancy, I think.
And,
and he didn't seem to take it well. Like she seemed to tell him that I had a baby, and he doesn't know how to respond. And maybe she really hates him because of that.
Well, he's talking about how he went to the sperm bank to get his boys tested.
Yes.
Because he thinks he couldn't.
They can't swim.
Yeah, he couldn't be the father. How
Yes.
did she get pregnant?
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
And this is why we call this a soap opera.
And now, Ben, I'm gonna jump a little. I'm a little bit ahead.
Here you
Spoiler!
go.
I'm a little bit ahead in real life than what we're watching.
So maybe we should come back in 1 minute if you don't want to hear what Bryan has to say.
No.
All right.
This is a theory I got after watching a little bit ahead of this episode, and it's not going to spoil anything. But what the invitation of love?
Invitation to love.
I honestly feel that Lucy has become, her life has become the invitation to love, subplot. We had we had invitation to love.
Right.
We had this soap opera stuff, and then as this season progresses, and I know we're in episode 2, season 2, but as her story arc progresses, it gets a little bit messy, and it dawned on me she represents that invitation to love subplot that we're missing from the first season.
I think you're 100% right. So I agree with you totally, Bryan.
Yeah.
So I think she watched it so much that she
Yes.
was like, I wish my life could be like that way. So if only I could have a child and have not be sure whose it is and all that. But no, you're absolutely right.
And
though.
what
I
if
mean,
do you think she was actually pregnant at all? She doesn't look pregnant, and I'm
Well, I
granted I know it's
it's only been a week.
it's been a week. But what if she's just creating this drama because her
You
favorite
think everybody
show
on the show is crazy, don't you? Cooper talks to himself. Lucy
Yup.
pretends to have
Yeah.
babies and stuff.
But okay.
Yeah.
Say Lucy. Okay, all this stuff is really happening to her, but it's so funny that none of this stuff happened to her in the first season. She was just normal,
Right.
And all of a sudden, her show is not on. We don't see the show anymore.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, her life gets a little crazy.
I think you've hit it. I think you're totally right in some way.
I'm not saying she's making it up. Granted, I think all that stuff happened to her, but it is.
There is some irony in that. And I think it's not even just her storyline. Unfortunately, as we continue season 2, we're gonna see more of that, and there'll be times where I'll cringe. I'll be like, oh, what's happening to Twin Peaks? Because it will it'll go over dramatic. It'll become more than just Twin Peaks. It'll become like over the top soap opera, and so I can totally see that. And I think you're right. It starts with this Lucy storyline.
Yeah, the Lucy storyline. So for me, I'm watching it going, she's become that invitation to love. Like
yes.
That.
We don't need invitation to love because
we have
now
Lucy. We have Lucy. The Lucy subplot.
So the buck stops here. I believe we have Hank hanging out in Truman's office.
Oh, Hank.
Yep, Hank Jennings.
So he's got 2 belts. Wait. Yes, I think.
So maybe one of them is like where he holds his gun, and then one.
Yes, he has 2 belts.
Well, like at the end of the day, he'll take off his belt that has the gun and stash it away, and then he'll still have his regular belt.
Yeah, he has his regular belt.
Oh, it's too funny. But I never noticed
that. I thought that was weird. I'm like, why does he have 2 belts on? And then I looked to see if Cooper had 2 belts on because he has a gun. I think
he doesn't need 2 belts.
And he doesn't have 2 belts.
That is funny.
Why does he have 2 belts? Anyway, so we find out Leo is in bad shape. He's in a coma. And Leo opens his eyes slightly after the scene.
Dun, dun, dun.
And it gets crazier later on. But Leo, I just think it's like, he's in a coma, but maybe it's just like weird muscle spasms. So, his eyes kind of...
Just to freak the audience out and be like, is he going to wake up? So, I mean, and we have this Hank scene here, and when we learn that Hank was a bookhouse boy.
Yep.
And which is kind of interesting. I mean, it gives a whole new dimension that he was friends with Harry, and I mean, it's
he was one of those guys, but
he never comes off as a good guy though, ever. Yeah.
And it's interesting that he got arrested, and why would they pick him to be in this club?
He grew up together with Harry, so I mean, I guess as kids, sometimes you hang out with the wrong people and
you
don't
grow up know it.
You don't realize that.
Yeah. So, it could have been one of those things. So, we're going to jump ahead. Audrey finds out her father is the one running One-Eyed Jacks. I think that's the biggest beat in this episode.
Yeah.
She knows it because he came in and tried to, like, molest her, not knowing who she was. But I think it really stuns her. Like, she's like, oh, my God. Like, what do you do? Like, my dad is... He's like evil, kind of. So then Bobby and Shelley wants... Oh, so the Bobby and Shelley plot line, because Leo's in the coma, Bobby and Shelley want to become this is so weird, to become Leo's caretakers because they want the checks.
Right.
Oh my God! How disturbing is that?
So we have a whole new scheme. I always feel like in some ways this is like the high school scheme. We had the big scheme of the burning down the mill, and then we have these high school schemes like, oh, if we keep Leo, we'll make lots of money off of this, right?
Yeah, that's kind of creepy. So your ex-husband's in a coma, but now you're with your boyfriend, and you guys are gonna take care of him so you can cash in on these checks. But that's their plot. That's what they want to do. We'll find out later how well it goes.
Not very well.
It doesn't go very well, yeah.
So we're at Ben's office, and Jerry's there, and then Leland stops by.
Yes.
And he sees a picture in the room.
I forgot about this.
I know you. Yeah, I think we brought this up one time to you, and you didn't remember this, and I was like, "Oh, this is huge." So he sees a picture of Bob, or say, "Have you seen this man?"
Yeah.
And he's like, he looks at it, and he recognizes this man. And why don't you play this? Play this right now, right?
I know him.
Excuse me.
My grandfather's summer house on Pearl Lakes. He lived right next door. I was just a little boy. But I know him.
So I this scene, it threw me for a loop. I'm like, what?
So the craziest thing is this is the first time that we know of Bob being a real person. I mean, because like we've had these visions and Cooper's dreams and Sarah's vision stuff, and like we've heard all about it. And like I think
Maddy had the vision too.
Maddy has a vision, so we had all this time, but this is the first time somebody has actually supposedly seen them in real life, and I think that's interesting. And I think the giant at one point says, I don't know if he said some people have seen him in dreams and visions, and only one person has seen him and is ready to talk. I think maybe I make that up, but I feel like that's something that maybe in the last episode.
Wouldn't that be Pulaski coming out of the coma?
Maybe. You're right. Oh, that's right. That would have been. You think
she'd
that
be ready to talk.
Yeah. Right.
Because him knowing who he is, but that's the first time. Yeah, he's seen anything.
Right, and we don't. And we won't find out more till the next episode. But that's it's still a huge thing to say, like. Because you're saying, like, is this a real person? Like, is this, like, because it's like we see this strange guy in visions and dreams, but we don't know that he really. But here's another thing: is Leland says he saw him as a little boy, like when it was with his grandfather. So that's even weirder too. That like. I'm guessing we're talking 30 years ago. I don't know. Like I'm terrible at figuring out how old Leland is compared to maybe
because of the white hair.
Yeah, the white hair is throwing me off. Right.
He's like 80 now. He aged.
Right. So I mean, So it's like, so this. If we're to believe Leland that this person could have been around for a long time and to think that he could have lived right next door to him, it's an interesting thing, and I think we'll have to, and that kind of goes back to the point we were talking about last week that maybe this season's more about who is Bob. Like we kind of had the first mystery really is who killed Laura Palmer, and I feel like this season at least is starting off as who is Bob.
Yeah, who's Bob? So. Major Briggs has a message for Cooper.
Oh, wait, can you play this for a second?
Oh, sure.
Who may I say is calling, please? I'm sorry I can't connect you with Sheriff Truman unless you tell me what your name is. You won't? I'm sorry, but I can't connect you with Sheriff Truman unless you tell me who you are. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm going to have to hang up now.
Who was that? Do we find out who that is?
No, we do not find out who it is. And people think of that as a mystery. And I feel like maybe I've solved this mystery.
Is it the killer?
No. I don't know if it's a killer. So, yeah. So that was like, that wasn't in the original script. Mm-hmm. So it's something that David Lynch put together, supposedly.
Is it throw people off, you think?
Well, here's the interesting thing. So, like, what we talked about doing for our at least for a few episodes is at the end of the episode we're going to do, there's a 1-900 phone number that like and I think it started right around this time where you in real life somebody could call this number and they'd have to pay money and you get to hear Lucy and Andy talk about the recapping it. And then they go to a mystery man, and he kind of tells you other clues.
Yeah.
And in this mystery man, he actually cuts off the phone call several times. Like, so she's like, I think she's pretending like she's on the phone with you, like we're calling and she's answering the phone. So it's like you're calling the sheriff, you're calling the sheriff's office, and you get Lucy, and Lucy talks to you. Yeah. And this mystery man cuts you off, and he starts talking. And so I'm thinking that person who called is the mystery man is really kind of a secret. You know how we talk about product placement?
Yeah.
This is like your product placement
for that number.
For that phone number. And I'm pretty sure this is the episode. In this episode, there'll be a commercial, and it'll be a commercial for you to find out more about Twin Peaks. Call this number, $1 for first minute, $3, or something like that. So I really think this is a secret product placement for you to call the 1-900 number.
That is very clever. And why else would they put that scene in there?
I think so, because the longest time I thought it was just like the stool. It was a really random, silly thing.
Yeah.
But then when I realized, doing research, and I found the newspaper article, and I realized that it was the exact same time as So we'll be playing at the end of this episode. We'll be doing the 1-900 number, and this will be exactly when it would play. So it's like it's too much of a coincidence to have this mystery man on these 1-900 messages be cutting you off and talking on the phone. and having her get this strange mystery
Yep.
character.
So
call.
technically, that could be the viewer calling her in that scene. Any
Or I think it's a mystery man. I think it's like
it's a mystery man.
I think it's the mystery man calling her, and he won't say anything.
Yep.
And if you want to get more information, you'll get it through the phone calls.
That is very clever. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because that scene, I'm like, does that mean something? Is it the killer?
Right.
Or is someone calling to they have a clue, but because they're not going to give their name, Lucy's not going to patch them through. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I've never seen anybody connect it, because you wouldn't connect. You need to know. You'd have to go through newspapers to realize this is the exact same time when they first started these 1-900 phone messages, which I participated in. Which I don't think I've listened to every single one of them every week. So I mean, I'll quickly say. So the show would be on Saturday, and then the next day, Sunday, you could call the number and do that. But I'm sure my mom would not let me call it, because I think it was $3 total to listen to the message.
Wow, they know how to get you. Wow.
So I thought it was fascinating, though, and maybe it's me, but it seems like it's a perfect link that she gets his phone call, and same time that we're gonna get to start calling.
That's cool, yeah. And then, we cut back to Black Eye Jacks, and we've, Audrey. Audrey finds out that her father runs One Eye Jacks, but also. She also sees, I believe, it's her boss tied up, and that's he indulges the information to her.
Yeah, I guess technically he's her boss. He's the boss from the Horns department store.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And she comes in. He's blindfolded and tied up, and it's odd that someone's vacuuming around him. Is that his fetish?
That's his fetish. And I think only because you bring it up, this is another thing that that Lynch added to the story. Like, it wasn't in the script anything about a vacuum, but on the spot he decided let's add a vacuum cleaner.
So he blindfolded and someone's vacuuming next to him.
Well, having children, sometimes children actually enjoy the sound of vacuum. It's like white noise.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's it. Maybe it's white noise. It's a calming sensation as he's tied up.
He's tied up, just hanging upside down, blindfolded. And if I remember correctly, she knows it's her dad. She talks to him. I don't know. Much more happens in this scene.
Yeah, so there was another scene of Audrey in One Eye Jacks, and she actually is hanging out with Nancy, which I don't think we meet Nancy yet, but that's Blackie's sister.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where Nancy is reading the newspaper and she mentions that the mill burned down. So in a way, it's kind of updating Audrey on what's going on in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And then Audrey tries to get more information about Laura and Ronette, and before Nancy can respond, I think that's when her boss here comes in. So maybe it was a little earlier in this, but I don't know if this is true and where I heard this. I don't know if I heard it from. I might have heard it from. I might have heard it from Reflections, or I don't know if it was Reflections or if I heard it from one of the other podcasts. But there was talk that Sherilyn Fenn was sick during this time. And so she wasn't feeling well. So I think she might not be in as many episodes, and maybe that's why they cut that scene. Not that that was a really important scene, and it could be, but I thought I heard that she wasn't feeling good during this time. But
I think that's it for this scene. Really, not
really.
Much. Yeah. The next big scene, I believe, is the Major Briggs has a message for Cooper. So this is when we discover that the owls are not what they seem.
The owls are not what they seem.
And
the Giant talks about this, right? The Giant mentioned the owls are not what they seem.
Yeah. And then he pulls out this gigantic piece of paper, the old printing paper, and it has is it ones and zeros or just the lines? Was it ones and zeros? There's
for some reason I thought it was ones and zeros.
Maybe.
But maybe
and then in this gigantic piece of paper with all these ones and zeros and everything, it says Cooper, Cooper, Cooper.
Cooper, Cooper, right. Because Cooper's like, why are you giving me this message? Like, why are you telling me this? This is the reason, Cooper.
Now, where'd those lines come from? They came. No, I don't think it was ones and zeros. I think it was lines. Like they were reading.
You want to play some here? Why don't we play a little bit?
Inevitably lends itself to corruption. But these rules I have pledged to uphold. I believe a pledge is sacred.
Speaking as a man and a fellow employee of the federal government, so do I.
Well, I may reveal this much. Among my many tasks is the maintenance of deep space monitors aimed at galaxies beyond our own. We routinely receive various communications.
Very good. So it appears that it would be from outer space. I mean, if we're...
Yeah, there it is. I think it's a line like these.
Yeah, I can't see. I mean,
I remember it being like zigzags.
Okay, so maybe it's not ones and zeros.
Yeah, because I think ones and zeros are a binary code. This is more of like a reading of like the atmosphere or the owl. There's just something out there, and I think that's where they get the Cooper.
Lots of gibberish at first.
Yeah,
and then suddenly, the owls are not what they seem. And
then Cooper. Oh no, it is.
Oh, it's numbers.
It's letters and numbers.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So where are they getting that reading from?
So I mean, if we're understanding what he's monitoring outer space, we're led to believe it's in outer space. I mean, from this episode, we're led to believe that.
So outer space speaks to us of letters and numbers. Why? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because, like, ones and zeros would be binary codes. So they computer talk. So that would kind of make no sense. But outer space, just letters and numbers.
Now, this is cringeworthy.
Oh, my God. This scene.
This is
so bad. I'm watching this. And my girlfriend's like, are you still watching Twin Peaks? Yeah. And they start singing. She goes, what the hell are you watching? And I'm like, I go.
Why don't we play a little bit just because it's so bad?
I don't even know. You know what it is?
Man.
It's his singing. It's echoey.
Yeah.
It's not. Also, I have some thoughts about this.
Okay.
We can leave it in the background.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts. Where these microphones are not plugged in. Neither is his guitar, and they're just coming out of the ground.
They're like Cooper. They're just pretending, and we're all.
We're. Like, and they're singing, but no, seriously, there's no, like, amps, there's no mixers or anything, and his voice sounds echoey, and the guitar.
Yeah.
This scene would have been more believable if he was an acoustic guitar, and his voice sounded normal.
Man.
Now, why do you think they did this scene?
I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to be that Twin Peaks has always been kind of a dreamy and sometimes has this 50s feel to it. I don't know if it's just supposed to be kind of like kind of a dreamy feel to it. Like,
but this is almost when Donna starts kind of like looking at James like.
Well, here's the thing. I also think that it's kind of like we're supposed to be like at rest. We're supposed to be at peace because it's we're about to be freaked out in about 2 seconds here with stuff. So I think it's kind of a way to just like, oh, we're just having fun, relaxing time. Like,
the calm before the storm.
Yeah, the calm before the storm. So I feel like. Maybe that's why it was done, and it's also for the storyline.
I love you. The lyrics.
But James, not only is Donna looking at. James is not only looking at Donna, but he is also looking at Maddy.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a way. It's another way to kind of be like, oh, you don't love me anymore, and you say just you and I. It's like, is it just you and I, you and Maddy, or is it you and?
Yup. Yeah. No. Definitely the song was picked for a reason. I don't even know if this is a real song.
So Lynch wrote this song. And I can't remember. I think James might have had. James Marshall, who the actor who plays James, might have had some say in it. I think.
Really.
So I didn't realize this. I never thought they actually were singing this. I thought they had some like real professional singing in this.
It was
but in the Reflections book, I believe they basically talk about this, that they actually did go into the studio and record this.
Oh my God.
I know. Never in the world. I never would have thought so.
So you're telling me they did not record this in the living room floor?
No.
Like the scene wants you to believe?
But yeah, Brad Duke's reflections and oral history of Twin Peaks. I think that's where it comes up that they talked about. Cheryl Lee, who plays Maddy there, was kind of really a little worried about singing through it, but it was kind of
Yeah, it's just such an odd scene. It's very weird.
Yes, it's very weird.
But definitely, it does give you that that love triangle that's happening. You know, Donna's in love with James, but James is sort of using Maddy as that Laura, I miss Laura, I love Laura feel. But there were always that love triangle between the three of them when Laura was alive.
Right.
So.
And and before it was the other way around. Donna was like the
secretly in love with James.
Yeah, James.
And James secretly in love with
Donna.
Donna.
And now she's kind of, I think she's worried that like, is she being replaced with somebody that,
So it's such an odd scene, but then it does break with, because I wrote James sings, very odd. Donna freaks out at during the jam session or recording session, and Mr. Smith calls, which are Harold.
And we don't hear his voice, but in the script, he says it's crucial. You gotta come see me. I think see me tomorrow at noon. And Laura gave me something, and you gotta find out. You gotta come and see this and stuff like that. And so it's interesting that in the script there was more information, and I think in the show we just hear Donna's version of it that that he wants to meet up with me
because she left her number with him in the beginning of the episode just on a piece of paper because he wasn't home.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. He just didn't answer the door because he doesn't leave the house.
Right.
So he was home.
He was. I think he was looking out the window when she left.
Yep, because the shade goes down.
So we have Bob in the living room. And he is, and only Maddy sees this. Maddie's just standing there and freaking out, and it's really freaky. Bob is like crawling over the couch, and he's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, it is pretty creepy. And
it goes right in her face, and she screams, freaking out.
Now, why in Maddy? I think we talked about this before that only the females have seen.
Right.
Bob.
Until this episode, we learned Leland has too. So it's almost like the whole Palmer family has some kind of connections to Bob, or they have a strong sender. I don't know.
Yeah,
They have some kind of strong sense of. I mean, maybe they're just gifted in some way.
But Leland, like you're saying, if Leland, he saw a picture with Bob with scrangly hair and he looks old and it's a drawing.
I was thinking about this today.
So was Bob the same age?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about this today. Is he the same age? I mean, or is it? I mean, it's only a drawing. So is it a rough idea? Like if you saw a young guy who had long hair, and then you saw, you think it'd different. You think it would look different, right?
It would look different.
Yeah. I can't pull. I was thinking about that today. Is like, I mean, even say it's 20 years. But it's got to be more. I feel like it's 30 years. You raised a kid that turned 17. Like Laura was, I think, 17 at the time. So it's been more than 20. 30, I feel like it would be 30 years since he's seen this guy. So it's crazy. So I wanted to give you some backstory about. Frank Silva, who played Bob.
Okay.
So he's doing this scene, and Lynch is telling him, okay, I want you to crawl over, and I want you to go towards the camera. And he's crawling, and he's like, oh, and he's thinking, and Frank's thinking to himself, it's like, okay, I'm waiting for Lynch to cut, and he just keeps crawling, and then he kind of like veers right off because he's learned that you never look right into the camera, like you don't do that, like that's not, you're not supposed to, that's just, you're supposed, it's just a technique. And Lynch stops and is like, no. I want you to do it again, and I want you to go right into the camera and do that. So I mean, this was something that like a lot of times Lynch kind of lets people go where they want it, but he really wanted Frank he wanted Bob in your face and stuff. So I thought that was kind of interesting to be like, Frank didn't really know what to do, but he's just followed Lynch and said, "Hey, crawl, keep crawling, I'll go into the camera."
Yeah, and that scene is kind of cool because he's behind such a high thing when he starts off and he goes through it and it's all smooth.
Yeah.
And it's that one shot with him just walking towards you.
Right. And I think typically you would think, okay, it's going to cut. First of all, it's a long take. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you're right. It's one shot.
Yeah.
And you're okay, it's going to stop. It's going to stop. No, it's going to stop. And, and then you're not, you, like you said, you never see this on television where they look right at the camera unless they're breaking the third wall and they're having like a Ferris Bueller kind of like talks to the camera and be like, but usually that doesn't happen. And
and it's a very, it's also very claustrophobic. if you're looking into that scene, it's framed. It's all there's things around the camera, and you're just watching something come right towards you, and you can't get away. So it does make you feel claustrophobic. Like, oh my God, what is going on here? Yeah.
And so nobody else sees this. I mean, James and Donna don't know what's going on, but and now we have another dream or a vision for Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper has a Bob and Owl dream. Right?
Yep,
Is that the Cooper?
You're absolutely right. We
Cooper
see out of focus, and then it comes into focus that it is Bob.
Is that Bob?
And then the owls are not what they seem. And you know what's interesting is there was, I think they had some you know, this was actually shot on film, and they had some I think they had some problems with the development, and it was like tinty, and it was the color was all wrong. And Lynch was like, "Perfect, we'll use it." And it's like, especially because I think this is a dream sequence, and you can get away with that in some way. But it's I love how Lynch goes with the flow, and things that are accidents, he usually finds a way to make it work.
Happy accidents.
Happy accidents. That's right. Yeah. That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the best stuff.
The owls are not what they seem.
Yeah, it's all black and white, and
it's like.
So this is creepy that the owl appears on Bob's face.
What do you make of that? What is that? What does that mean to you? I mean, so
what does that mean to me? Well, you know, that could mean to me that the owls symbolize something, that you had a message from the log lady who told Mr. Briggs. Right, Mr. Briggs.
Yeah, Major Briggs.
Major Briggs. And Major Briggs told Cooper about the owls. Now he has a thing with an owl appearing on Bob's face. It's like a full circle. Maybe the owls are the answer. They know. The owls know what happened because they're in the woods, and the death happened.
I like that.
Out in the woods. The train station was not the train station, but it was like a train.
Train cart. Right.
Train cart. So, and Laura ran off of James's motorcycle into the woods.
Right.
To meet with these people.
Yep.
To do whatever. And then she died. And maybe Bob, we just found out from Leland that he lived in a log cabin by some lake.
Yeah, Pearl Lake.
Pearl Lake. And so he's an outdoorsman. He lives in a log cabin. Or maybe just Cooper, it's just too much information, so everything just gets squished into his brain, and then it comes out this way. You know, I guess my theory would be the owls, full circle, the owls. If you find the owls, you'll find Bob.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, right. I can tell you when I first saw this, I kind of had, it wasn't clear. I mean, it's funny because
clear. Yeah,
it's funny because the giant gives these three cryptic messages, and each episode, it seems like you keep on revealing new things. So we had the smiling bag, and that was understood, and I guess we're supposed to understand from this episode what the owls are not what they seem, but it's very cryptic. It's probably one of the clues that not right away. It's like, oh yeah, I get it now. I mean, the smiling bag, I understood. It was the body bag of Jacques Renault, and that was understood. But this one is not as clear, and I think we'll definitely it'll become clearer. But right now, it's again we're in this dream thing, and we're trying to make sense of why is there an owl on Bob's face and stuff. So,
and I do know I'm assuming it's going to take a while before we get back to the owls.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it does. Because, I mean, I know I'm a couple episodes ahead of this one. I still don't know who the killer is. But I also know I have not seen anything about the owls again.
Yeah. So and I every once in a while, I'll say things to you just for fun. Because I forgot what episode it was now. Maybe, I can't remember now. But there was an episode where, James... It was probably... was it the last episode? James and Donna are looking for the necklace, and there's an owl above them, and they're saying, "Oh, what happened to our necklace?" That was a while back, but
and they show the owl,
right? But I mean, every once in a while I'll be like, "Oh, there's an owl," just to point out that there's owls in the woods. So the
owls know what happened. Maybe the owls know where the necklace. They all know. And do the owls communicate through the log lady? And does the log lady communicate the messages to whoever needs to know? like Major Briggs needed to know.
Right.
And then, Major Briggs really kind of like, oh, okay, I'm going to give him the message. Like, he didn't even question
Right.
it. Like, he knew. It wasn't like she said it and he went, you're crazy.
Right. And I think the real reason I think that was is because I want to believe that he got that message. Oh, no, he already got the message from outer space, and it said Cooper on it. So I think it was easier to believe her because, like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because I got that message, and it did say Cooper, and I have been wrestling with the idea of should I share this with him because it is, it is secret information and stuff. But this, you're right, I should share this. So it was almost like I know exactly what you're talking about and stuff.
And do you feel like, maybe they've had these conversations before, the log lady and him?
Yeah, you kind of do wonder, are they friends?
Because it was just so like nonchalant.
Right.
Like you should say, okay, I will.
I think she says in this one you have shiny. Is this right where she says you have shiny metal objects? Or no, maybe not.
Metal objects. She makes an observation.
Yeah. Or maybe I don't know if that's this one, but they definitely seem like they've had some relationship in the past.
Maybe just they have a rapport with each other only when messages needed to be said, I guess.
Yeah. I'll sit back here and chew my gum, but if I have something to share with you, we'll sit down and hang out together. But so I mean, I think we'll definitely come back to the owls are not what they seem.
So the episode ends, or Aubrey calls Cooper for help. If I'm not mistaken, does she just start yelling for Cooper?
I think she wants like, hey, why don't we? Play it? We can just play it.
Oh, she calls on the phone.
Agent Cooper.
It's me, Audrey.
Audrey? Where are you?
Why aren't you here?
Audrey, this is no time for schoolgirl games. I want you home now.
I saw you in your tuxedo. You look like a movie star.
Audrey, if you're in any kind of trouble.
Maybe like
I am
Gary
in
Cooper.
trouble, but I'm gonna come home now.
Audrey? Audrey?
Trouble, Miss Horn. You don't know what trouble is. Not by a long shot.
So Mrs. Black and her ex-boss have her.
Yes, and that ends that episode.
Yeah, so you find out that she's kind of trapped there.
Yeah. And I think we'll learn more about that. And actually, there was the script had it done differently. It was more of like she was playful and silly with Cooper and says, "Don't lose your shirt over this." And I don't think it was the appropriate tone for this. And I think Lynch went the right direction. But she actually said she was more cryptic with Cooper on the phone as well. She was kind of like, "I know who it is," and stuff like that. Like so,
really?
She like it was almost like she knew who killed Laura Palmer. Yeah, if they had gone that, I'm not even going to go into it. But it was interesting. I think Lynch went the right direction.
Yeah, if they went that way, because where I am.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't. Yeah.
Yep, we need to go there. But if in my mind right now, after watching that episode, I am so confused about who killed Laura Palmer. But actually, the focus of Laura Palmer has disappeared, like you say. We're more worried about who the hell is this Bob guy, and
he seems to be haunting. He's haunting both. Seems like Sarah Palmer and Maddy. And I'm trying to think.
Anybody in that house?
Yeah.
Remember we talked about could it be the house?
The house is haunted.
Maybe he died there. But. Yeah, so
I like that.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, why was there blood splatter on the carpet?
Right.
That makes no sense.
I think I want to revisit that at a later date.
Maybe.
And I told you that the original idea they had, and they did it in the Japanese DVD, I think it was, where originally they were going to have Bob's face in the carpet, and I found you can find it on YouTube, and it looks awful. And I'm so glad they didn't do that, because it was just like it was bad, very bad like special effects. Yeah. And I actually think it was more powerful to just see blood on the carpet than to like have I don't think we always need to see Bob. I think we can sometimes think that there's some kind of she could be in danger. There is this strangeness going on.
What if Leland killed Jacques very easily? Like he killed Jacques. He was pretty happy afterwards. He had no remorse. So, would Leland, and since Leland has admitted that he's seen Bob at a cabin,
Yes.
what if Leland killed Bob in that house?
Wow. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. And killed because he did something weird.
That's cool.
Or
but as a kid, like, because he was a boy, right?
a boy.
He was a boy, and right. And
maybe
like,
he killed Bob there.
Maybe he forgot that he had done it, or like he's kind of like, yeah, he did this terrible act, and he doesn't want to remember that he did that and stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
Because why would you kill? He killed Jacques with no Even if you thought someone killed your daughter, killing someone else might make you feel good for all of 10 minutes, but then afterwards you realize, well, now you're a killer. Not him. He was just like dancing and jumping around. He's happy. So, yeah, maybe he killed Bob in that house, and Bob, for some reason, is haunting everybody.
Right. But it doesn't seem like he's haunting the family, right?
Yeah,
right now he seems to be Sarah and... I mean, Cooper's seeing him too, but I mean, he's got
But he's a strong sender.
He's a strong sender.
And receiver.
And receiver, right? So is this it? I mean,
we dove deep. I think we dove deep into this episode also with my Diane theories.
Yes.
My
it.
Cooper theories. Is Cooper just crazy this whole time?
Oh man. I always thought that was a really cool idea though too, to think that like he's just talking to himself.
Yeah. Maybe he's alone on the road, and that whole disappearing partner thing really threw me for a loop. Because why would a partner be in a mental hospital?
Right. Totally.
And what if... Okay, here's my theory. What if Cooper and his partner, they were just buddies who were in the mental institution together?
Dun, dun, dun.
They
I
both
feel like there's a movie like this.
They both escaped. Cooper is so crazy... He made himself become an FBI agent. He's not really an FBI, but
man.
he just went out and I'm an FBI agent now.
You should be like writing like Twin Peaks fan fiction.
And the other guy, we don't know what happened to him. He just disappears. But Cooper decides maybe he sees in the newspaper serial killer.
Yeah.
Murder in Twin Peaks. And
he goes collecting all this, right?
Yeah, and he's like, he becomes obsessed with this, and he just goes to town. And Diane's nobody. That's just his other personality he's talking to, someone else. And yeah, the whole thing, he's not really an agent.
I also used to think that like maybe Diane was his tape recorder. Like maybe he would just keep. Maybe all he was doing is taking notes so that he could review his notes. Like maybe the next day he's like, oh yeah, what was I doing yesterday? And like, Diane, I'm eating blah 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 blah. But I mean, like really,
he named it Diane.
He named it Diane, but really it was his way of keeping track of his investigation or something.
Yeah, and Diane would be the breaks in between, so he knew when he heard Diane, that means it was the next recording.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So like,
stop, pause.
Yeah. So it'd be like Diane. Oh, I know that's where it is. Yeah, like there's so many interesting theories you can get into.
So do you want me to talk about this 1-900 promo thing now, or should we talk about it after we give
let's do all our stuff. We'll end it with the.
Okay, so I think I might do 2 today, because I have the actual like commercial that ran during the episode, and then. Cool. So that was to promo it, and then you'd have to call up to actually hear the message.
Okay,
but I thought
cool.
So the only thing is it'd probably be a couple seconds in between the 2 spots there. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, so we have to thank everybody who listened to us weekly.
Thank you.
The audio, it keeps getting higher and higher, so it's awesome. And Twin Peaks Unwrapped on Twitter.
Yes.
Twin Peaks on Facebook. Twin Peaks Unwrapped on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. And then email us at twinpeaksunwrapped@gmail.com. And we haven't got any more emails since our last one, right?
I think we did, but I didn't bring anything.
We did.
I don't know if I brought anything
next
with
week.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't check the email as much as I should. So.
I check it on a daily basis, and I do respond. So I mean,
that's cool.
Yeah. So I if you email us, I probably will respond to you with something.
And on Twitter, we get a lot of responses on Twitter.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm loving Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's awesome. So you can get a hold of us that way. Please, rate us on iTunes. We're on iTunes. Subscribe to us.
And you can go to twinpeaksunwrapped.com is our website. So that's where, another way to, if you just want to go through the browser and listen to the episodes, you can listen to them that way.
Yeah, everything is linked there. So you can just go there and you'll find us. So I guess with that, you're going to give us the 1-800 promo spot?
Yeah, the 1-900. And I'll just give you a little background real quick. So, So this was another one of the things that they decided. I'm pretty sure this is where they've introduced this 1-900 thing.
Yeah.
It's basically called the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Office Hotline. So it's almost like you give tips. Usually you would call the sheriff to give tips about the investigation. Instead, you're calling the sheriff station and they're giving you tips about the investigation. So it's usually in every episode you have Lucy giving a message and you have Andy, and sometimes you might have another character from Twin Peaks come about and say something as well. And then you have this mystery man, and as a 15-year-old kid, I thought he was a really cool mystery man. Listening to him now, it's like, yeah, he's okay. He's no like Deep Throat. He's no like really like, you know what I mean, like from the X-Files and stuff. Like in X-Files, you're like, ooh, he's like X and Deep Throat, and they're so mysterious. And this guy's kind of like, oh, he's really just an announcer telling you about.
So Ben, my imagination just went.
I ruined it for you. Forget I said that.
No, but
forget I've said this.
My imagination just went from like. And we have like, and then all of a sudden now I'm thinking of the announcer from Saturday Night Live.
Oh man, right.
And here's a tip.
No, it's somewhere in between. And so just to tell you too, like, so each phone message that when you called would cost $2 for the first minute, and then $1 for the additional minute, and no more than $3, which I think they were about 3 minutes long or so.
Yeah,
I think a little under that.
Wow.
So I remember listening. I remember calling. I don't think I called, like I said, every week because I think my mom would have got mad if I was spending $3 a week on a phone message.
Phone message. What's this on the phone bill?
So what again we'll do is we'll do the commercial spot that probably ran during the show, and then, like I said, that Sunday is when you could call. And I don't get it. Why did they wait Sunday? Why couldn't I start calling right when the show was over?
Yeah.
And so another thing is, so I'm looking at these newspaper articles, and I guess some people had trouble getting in. I don't remember ever having trouble, but people would call, and it would be busy, and they couldn't actually get to the messages.
Maybe they were all calling at probably a different time. I bet you there was like a time where everybody was calling.
Yeah.
And maybe you would call in an off time.
I think you and I can't. I mean, it's hard to picture that now, especially when you think of like American Idol or something like that, where they have several phone lines and you can take a lot more. But it's crazy to think you can't get through. It's a Sunday and like.
Yep.
But so I don't remember it happening to me, but reading this newspaper article, it seemed like it did happen to some people.
Maybe everybody called. Like I bet you there was like peak hours for phone calls. And I bet you everybody was choosing that one.
Right before church, everybody's like, I gotta call.
I gotta go to church and know Twin Peaks information.
All right, so we'll do the commercial spot, and then we'll do the first message, and I think we'll do this for a weekly thing here for a bit.
Cool. I'm excited. So we'll see you guys next week.
Twin Peaks Sheriff Station, this is Lucy speaking. I do not know how you got this phone number, but it's reserved for official sheriff's business only.
For the latest clues and updates on Twin Peaks, call the sheriff's hotline at 1-900-860, $2 the first minute, $1 each additional minute, maximum 3-minute call. Callers under 18 get your parents' permission before dialing. Sponsored by Phone Programs USA, Inc.
Station, this is Lucy speaking. Boy, has stuff been happening or what? I heard through the Meals on Wheels people, I used to help them on my days off, that Donna went to see this old lady whose little kid took her cream corn and held it in his hands like it was just a bunch of corn, which I guess it was, except it was creamed, and that is just about the worst food in the history of the world. Speaking of cream corn, do you believe that story about Deputy Briggs?
I like cream corn.
So now you're listening in on my calls.
I was not. I was just walking by the phone and it blinked. What are you talking about?
I'm trying to tell the caller what's been happening.
The fire department had its annual hose race.
Hose race? Can we stick to business here? Some of us are professionals. Then Agent Cooper showed Ronette the drawing of Bob, the man in his dream, and it was the man who hurt her and killed Laura Palmer. And then Leland Palmer recognized him, too, from when he was a kid up at Pearl Lake.
Yeah, the third man at the train car.
Real quick, Deputy.
Then Agent Rosenfeld told Agent Cooper that his old partner, Wyndham Earle, has vanished.
Deputy Brennan won't be joining us for any more of this conversation. Now, where were you?
Hello? Look, I gotta be quick. Audrey and Lauren paid a visit on Emery Gaddis at One-Eyed Jack's with some ice cubes and a vacuum cleaner and found out her father is the owner. She tried to call Cooper, but got caught by Blackie. Kids these days. Then Major Briggs told Agent Cooper that messages have come from outer space that said the owls are not what they seem. I think we took it quite well. Ben and Jerry had the ledgers from the mill. They were going to burn them, but decided to roast marshmallows instead. Hey, look, I gotta go. Oh, one other thing. I believe Donna is about to go visit this mysterious Mr. Smith. I think it's a mistake. Goodbye.
I'm a taxpayer. What the hay is going on with these phones? Have you heard a word I said?
I don't think you should be talking that way from the sheriff's station, Lucy.
Deputy Brennan, how nice of you to join us again.
I wanted to say that Hank Jennings used to be a bookhouse boy with Harry before he turned to a life of crime.
Man, what is a person to think?
Lucy, there's a smelt fry down at the VFW Friday. Do you want to go?
You mean those little fish that look like something you'd feed your cat?
You get a whole basket.
How romantic. No, thank you. Well, thanks for calling. I'll be here next Sunday with more information. This is Lucy.